Hey there, Diane Conklin with Complete Marketing Systems and Diane'sDozen.com. Want a copy of the entire series of Diane's Farm Dozen? Go to Diane'sFarmDozen.com. You can get a nice PDF of all of this and to make sure that you don't miss any of the remaining half of what we're doing here. Actually, more than that, we are on episode 5. Episode 5 is have a plan and be flexible because things change and things change quickly, right? Have a plan, but be flexible. I had a mentor tell me once, um, he said to me, Diane, you need to be more like a palm tree. I said, what in the world are you talking about? A palm tree? He said, yeah, think about what a palm tree does in a storm. He said, even in a hurricane in Florida, where there are a lot of palm trees, where I lived for 8 years, he said, what does a palm tree do? Palm tree will flex and bend and almost get, sometimes they get flattened, but very rarely does a palm tree break under the pressure of the weather or of the wind. And many times, what's interesting, and you can find pictures of this, let's say the hurricane comes through. The palm tree went from here, where it was standing up straight, right? And the leaves are toward the sun, which is how it grows, to here. Now it's still standing, but it's at a, what is that? This is 90. Let's say it's at a 45-degree angle, right? I use math as much as I used to. So the palm tree is now at a 45-degree angle. What happens many times is because they reach toward the sun. That's where how they grow, where they get their energy. That palm tree will very start to bend back up this way. And so now the palm tree will actually look like this, right? It'll still be rooted in the ground where my elbow is, and the base of it, or the main part of it, will still be at that 45-degree angle, but the top of it starts to go up because it wants to reach toward the sun. And when you think about that from a business perspective, being flexible and, having a plan, you have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going, right? I tell people often you have more of a GPS for your vacation than you do knowing where then you have a plan for your business, which is crazy because your business is what feeds you. But on the farm, you learn about this very quickly because, um, you can plan to go out and plant, but if it's raining, you're not going anywhere, right? You can't be in the fields when it's pouring down rain. Um, Things change. I can remember a morning I was getting, it was cold. It was cold outside because I was sitting inside waiting on the bus. So it must have been really cold. It used to be frost on the inside of the window where we'd sit and watch for the bus. So we'd take an ice scraper and scrape just enough so we could see. But anyway, Dad had gone out to do something, and Mr. Independent, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He was trying to move something, and instead of coming in and asking Mom to help him, because he had that whole traditional. Although Mom did a lot of stuff on the farm and drove wagons and took stuff to the grain elevator and all kinds of other things. Um, he didn't want either of us or my sister doing heavy lifting things. So because he was the guy who always found an alternative way to do something, which by the way, we'll talk about. That's actually the last episode. Uh, he went and got some kind of a chain and connected it to whatever it was he was trying to move out of the way and started pulling. Well, when he started pulling and he pull and pull and pull and it started to move, the chain snapped and he fell backwards and cracked his head on the concrete. And I'll never forget sitting there watching for the bus, waiting on the bus to come. And I see Dad kind of staggering toward the front door. And I look up and he's got his hand like this where he had fallen and hit his head. And I opened the door and I said, are you okay? What's wrong? Get your mother, get your mother. So he cracked his head. I don't know how he kept from passing out after hitting his head on the concrete as hard as he did, but he's bleeding now. Of course, he's got to go get stitches in the back of his head. And so my point in telling you all this, and Mom put him in the car, and they went off to the local doctor, and very different life then, and life on the farm and in small town than it is today. But took him over to the local doctor. They got him in, stitched up his head. He came back home. He probably had a concussion. I mean, the concrete where he hit had a little puddle of blood, My guess is he may have laid there for a minute or so and maybe lost consciousness. He said he didn't, but him staggering in like he did is my guess is that he probably did. But my point is, he came home and went back to work, did what he needed to do, right? So he had his plan and he was flexible enough to start a little late, but he was, just stubborn enough that he was going to get done what he needed to get done. Again, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You have less control than you think. And, you had your plan for the day. And while you're flexible enough to go get your head stitched up, we're not flexible enough to go rest for the day, right? Kind of thing. But it's the same in your business, right? We have things that we want to accomplish and we have plans, and we also have to be flexible inside of the plan, because sometimes things work better than we thought. Sometimes things don't work as well as we thought. And so having flexibility and being able to quickly take a different route, right? To shift or to pivot or to flex and do more of or less of or change something, modify something, test and measure, right? It's all about having a plan and then being flexible enough inside of that plan to really make the plan work even better, right? Because when you're so stringent and you're so set on this is my plan and this is what I have to do, and you have no flexibility, then you're unwilling or unable or both to change that path, even though something's not working. I can't tell you how many times somebody will say to me, well, I've been doing this and doing this and doing this. Is it working? No. Well, then why are you continuing to do it, right? What's the definition of insanity? Continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? What's the difference between a rut and a grave? A rut is just a grave with the ends kicked out, right? And so all of these things, it comes down to the same thing. You have a plan and you're so driven into this plan and you're not flexible enough to change. It creates issues and problems in your business, and many times is why you're frustrated. Give things a chance to work, give things enough time to work, but if they don't work, stop beating your head against the wall. All that's doing is putting a goose egg on your forehead, right? It hurts. And so does continuing to do the same thing and having it not work. Try something else. Modify what you're doing, how you're doing it. So many variables, right? Change a word in the headline, change the photo, change the video, change the whatever, right? There's so many things, so many variables, but things change and things change quickly sometimes. Think about, God forbid, there's a disaster in the world, right? There's a natural disaster, 9/11, COVID changed so many things about how we do business, about the world, about the life that we lead, about how we do things. In an instant, things change sometimes, right? And so when you're flexible inside of your plan, because you wrote it in pencil and not in pen, right? It's not inked in, you're flexible, you will always win over the person who is stringent and non-flexible and rigid. Have your plan and be flexible. That's what we're talking about in episode 5 of Diane's Farm Dozen. So applicable to what we did always on the farm, right? You got to be flexible because things change and things change quickly. And so if you take that into your business, and look, for some of us, it's a challenge. And if you find that if planning is a challenge, definitely reach out, because that's one of my strong suits. But if then being flexible inside of your plan is a challenge, reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how I might be able to help you with one or both of those things inside of episode 5. Have a plan and be flexible. And remember, things change and things change quickly. And you don't want to be left holding the bag because you didn't anticipate a change, or you were unwilling to change and be flexible. You want all of these episodes? Check it out. Go to dianesfarmdozen.com. You can get your very own copy there and make sure that you don't miss any of the second half of the videos that I'm going to be doing. All right. If there's anything I can do, if you have a comment or a question, leave it here. Reach out. Let me know how I can help. Until next time, Make it a great day.